Hey guys, today I want to talk about how small things can be powerful. That's not a disclaimer for my adult dating profile, and it's not an acknowledgement of Danny DeVito, Tom Cruise or Oompa Loompas, all small but powerful in their own way. No, it's the A7C we're talking about, marketed by Sony as the world's smallest and lightest full-frame camera with in-body image stabilisation. Now, it's around a year since the A7C was first released, and I've had mine and I've been using it for video shooting for almost that entire time. So, is it a petite powerhouse or a diminutive disappointment? I'm going to be sharing with you my long-term thoughts today from a vlogging and videography perspective, but first we had better hand over to Future Dave for an overview. Future Dave, that guy is going to have a lot of problems. On that alarming note, I should tell you that everything we are going to cover is listed with timestamps in the description, along with related videos and links if you'd like to support the channel. Even more Future Dave here, and I'm adding this to the video when it's otherwise finished because around 3 hours ago, Sony announced the A7IV. Now, super exciting, really interesting, some really cool features, but it doesn't change any of my conclusions on the A7C, especially if you look at the pricing. In the UK at least, the list price is about 25% more than the list price on the A7C. Real world, that'll be a bigger gap. And I think the A7C and A7III are your sort of entry point, the budget but very capable full frame for Sony. Then A7IV, A7S3, A1 in terms of price and sort of product tiers. So I don't think they're direct competitors. I think it's more that sort of structure. With that said, I will be doing a spec and feature comparison to help sort of delineate, is the A7C or the A7IV or A7III the best choice for you? And if my bank balance will allow, I'll be picking up an A7IV to do some direct real world comparisons too. So just wanted to share that with you, and yeah, back to the video. Everything that you'll see today uses the settings that are currently shown on screen unless otherwise stated. And if you enjoy the video, then please like, subscribe and comment. But right now, let's start by talking about core features. The heart of the A7C is a full frame sensor, which looks even more expansive inside this new smaller outfit. With a 24.2 megapixel resolution, it gives you sharp and detailed 4K video, oversampled down from 6K. Frame rates are shown on screen right now, but they mostly mirror those of the A7III and indeed much of Sony's wider lineup, with 4K up to 30 frames per second and 1080p up to 120 frames per second for slick, slow motion. Now, this channel is all about videography, but it's worth mentioning that the A7C is also a very competent photography option with all the same inner workings as the A7III, including burst shooting up to 10 frames per second. Similarly, while I always shoot at 24 frames per second in 4K, which gives you an uncropped readout from the sensor, if you shoot at 4K 30, you'll see a slight crop into the image. Somewhere else where you often see crop is our next topic, which is stabilisation. And for the A7C, this is simultaneously pretty decent and a bit of a missed opportunity. You see, for me, the big disappointment is the lack of active steady shot. The electronic image stabilisation, which Sony had already implemented and done pretty well with the ZV-1 and A7S3, both of which released before the A7C. However, we still get IBIS in body image stabilisation and catalyst browse gyroscopic stabilisation. IBIS does a good job with basic handheld shots, smoothing out things like jitter, while also helping you preserve a nice organic handheld feel. So it's good for things like simple pans and tilts, but if you try more advanced movements like walking or vlogging, as we are right now, then your results are going to end up more jittery than caffeine day at a stuttering support centre. Not great. For those trickier movements, you can turn to catalyst browse gyroscopic stabilisation, which is what you're seeing now. Bad news first, this does require an extra workflow step and generally a higher shutter speed. Full info on the linked videos if you're not familiar, but in exchange for that, you get really excellent results. And for me, I love vlogging with Catalyst. Did I say vlogging? I love vlogging with Catalyst. You get full frame, great look, loads and loads of bokeh with a lens like this, the Sony 20mm f1.8. It's super easy because I'm not having to carry around a gimbal, and The results more than make up for any minor workflow inconveniences. And speaking of convenience, that small and light body also means the A7C can viably run on a smaller, lighter gimbal, like the Zhiyun Crane M2 that we're using right now. Obviously, at a certain point of using bigger and heavier lenses, you'd have to move to a bigger capacity, heavier gimbal. But there are a good number of solid, lighter lens options for the A7C, like the Samyang 24mm f2.8 that we're using right now. So if you're sticking with that kind of combination, the A7C may have a fairly unique advantage versus its full frame cousins around how small and compact an overall gimbal setup can be. Very nice. Speaking of lenses, we should discuss the lens ecosystem available to the A7C, because this is going to determine what you can achieve for things like field of view and bokeh. We get the E-mount connection, which means you've got a pretty big array of Sony native lens options, as well as a large amount of third-party support. In fact, I got bored of counting the compatible lenses after 100, so you won't be short of some good choices. In fact, it might be fair to say that the E-mount is the best served lens mount option available right now. The A7C can seamlessly use crop lenses too, with the same crop field of view, and it can also go into crop mode while using a full frame lens to get a 1.5 times tighter angle, like our 50mm lens here becoming a 75mm effective field of view. The crop mode loss of resolution might impact photos if you want to blow them up really large, but for 4K video you only need around 8 megapixels, so cropping our 24 megapixel sensor by 1.5 times still leaves us around 11 megapixels, also known as plenty. So you're getting more focal lengths for your full frame lenses, plus access to the often lighter, cheaper but still great selection of crop options, or as some call them, croptions. But it's not all positive news. If you want to get the most out of that full frame sensor, you will want to use proper full frame lenses, and that can get expensive fast. Plus, full frame lenses are often bigger and heavier, just like the chunky boy I'm using to film the studio sections of this video. And you might think that defeats the point of the A7C, but personally, I don't see that as a big downside in reality. Now, like Ross Geller, let's pivot away from talking about bigger and heavier and towards talking about smaller and more compact, given that those things are the main selling point of the A7C. So it seems like a good time to cover price, design, and build quality. The A7C has a list price of £1,900 in the UK, though you will find deals for significantly less if you shop around. Check out the affiliate links for the latest. For that price, you get a solid feeling yet impressively compact magnesium alloy construction. You'll see dimensions on screen now, but the short version is that you're getting full frame power in a size that is smaller than many crop body competitors, or as some call them, crop petitors. The downside of that svelte form though is less comfortable ergonomics, a grip and viewfinder that are fine but do feel a little cramped at times. You'll also get relatively few customizable buttons and dials compared to most other full frame options, and unlike the dual SD card slots you get with the A7 III, there is just one here, which is a definite compromise. However, there is a really useful, fully articulating flip-out screen, which is great for vlogging, shooting at challenging angles, and overall super useful, despite the typical Sony limited touch functionality. Now let's take a quick break and change of pace so you can hear how the built-in mic sounds. This is how the audio of the A7C sounds, with the built-in mic and a speaking voice around 50 centimeters away. And here is how some guitar sounds. Another compelling characteristic is battery life. Powered by the NPZ100 battery, again, super memorable product name there, Sony, the A7C has outstanding longevity, hitting 2 hours and 45 minutes in my 4K 24p video test. Genuinely excellent. Also pretty good is our port selection. A nicely designed door for the SD card, plus separate compartments for audio with mic in and headphone out, and other connections including micro HDMI and USB-C are nice touches. A good overall design in my view. Some compromises compared to the A7 III, but more than offset by the upgrades, at least for my use case. But One upgrade without any compromise is autofocus. Here we get 93% sensor coverage across up to 693 detection points. There's excellent performance across a variety of lenses. Right now you're seeing the 28-60 kit lens, but check out any of the linked lens reviews below and you'll see consistently compelling examples. There's also very useful controls for video shooters, with autofocus transition speed and subject shift sensitivity, available with 5 and 7 levels of control respectively. Touch tracking and rack focus really benefit from those transition speed controls, helping you get nice cinematic and natural looking reveals or snappier focus jumps. Whereas vloggers or cinematic shooters using autofocus will appreciate the subject shift control, which allows for very rapid switches as different things enter the frame, or a focus which stays stickier than Spider-Man in a glue factory, refusing to change unless your new subject has been on screen longer than the average Zack Snyder cut. So, autofocus is a big strength and selling point of the A7C, but isn't that also true for much cheaper Sony options like the ZV-E10 or ZV-1? Well, not quite, because the A7C gets much better focus results when faced with our next topic, low light. And just like my physical appearance or Batman's effectiveness, the A7C might even be at its best when things get dark. It's no A7S3, but the sensor here isn't just full frame with that far larger size benefiting in how much light it can drink in. It's also the same sensor that you get in the A7 III, which already has a very well-earned reputation for excellent low light performance. You pair that with a wide aperture lens like the Sigma 35mm f1.4 art that we're using right now, and you can get stunningly good low light results. In fact, the possibilities with the A7C in low light are enough to warrant a proper deep dive video. Watch out for that. But the short version is that this is a camera which can get autofocus working in a pitch black room and can provide nice quality images up to and beyond ISO 12800 very consistently. And with a nice wide aperture lens, you can achieve bokeh balls bigger than even the most optimistic spam email promises, and a cinematic low light vibe that Ridley Scott would approve of if he wasn't busy directing terrible sequels to Alien. And like the Alien franchise, we really would be better off coming to a conclusion now. So what's the verdict? Just before I summarize and tell you, if you have enjoyed the video, then please do like, subscribe, comment, and check out the affiliate links. These videos are labor intensive to make, so I really do appreciate that support. Now, as for our conclusions, I really like the A7C, and I've been pleased with my results and experience using it for the last year or so. But there are some frustrations which stop me from calling it excellent or giving you a totally caveat-free recommendation. The lack of active steady shot electronic stabilisation is a disappointing omission, especially given that the A7S3 and ZV-1 both had versions of this before the A7C launched. Catalyst stabilisation is great, but I would like that other option and the extra convenience it would provide. The lack of 4K 60 frames per second isn't a huge deal for me, nor is the occasionally cramped ergonomics and viewfinder, although the single SD card slot is a bit disappointing. But the reasons why I like this camera and why it could be great for you too are pretty damn numerous. Fantastic and furiously fast focus, compelling yet compact capability, lavish and luxurious low light, and generally great potential that runs far beyond my dumb alliteration. So, if you need a great entry-level yet extremely capable full-frame camera with the advantage that you could genuinely carry this around in one pocket and have a compact lens in the other, the A7C could be an excellent choice for you. And that brings us to the end for today. Massive thank you for watching, especially making it all the way to this point. Get involved with your thoughts in the comments below, but most importantly, until next time, take it easy. Plus, separate command. Mess up your words and then make up a stupid song to cover it up and fail. Thank you.